Australia and Europe.
We feel that we need some corporate beyond the dollar figure, something.
This planning meeting is very It's being run by a referee, an outside consultant from California.
Marla does a great job, and what I'd like to do now is...
All very modern, but the goal is old-fashioned. Take a company with $8 million in sales and pump it up to $12 million. Almost all of that in the United States.
We always have new products in the works. The life cycle for our products is about 5 years. We have to be able to come out with new products.
Please send along a business-size stamped self-addressed envelope. Our address is Marketplace, Box 2000, Station A, Toronto, M5W2A2. That's Box 2000, Station A, Toronto, M5W2A2.
That's all for tonight. Stay tuned now as the Fifth Estate.
It's easier to be a company without a border.
Kitchen. Chemicals used in automatic dishwashers blew out an exhaust, only to be sucked back in an adjacent air vent. Exhaust fumes from the parking garage drifted into the fresh air intake, which was curiously just around the corner.
This is the main mechanical room that serves the east side of the B&B.
According to engineer Doug Halstead, the problems were compounded by flaws in the main ventilation plant, the lungs of the hospital.
So what was happening is we weren't getting the proper mixing of the of air, so the unit would go off and we would not have any no ventilation whatsoever.
So when this machine would shut down, everything would like stagnate in the hospital.
That is correct.
When you consider the kinds of chemicals and the kinds of fumes that were out there, it's no wonder people got sick.
That is correct.
All over the hospital, people were breathing contaminated air.
Well, the air quality report shows that I was exposed to raised levels of phenol and formaldehyde. And there was a high level of carbon monoxide because the mechanical room beside my office was vented into my office. And the fumes from the parking garage weren't vented properly, so they were filling up the air in our department.
I'm angry. Someone did this to me. I didn't do it. And I think someone's accountable. Someone must be responsible for it.
But the people responsible are no longer accountable. Donald Power was Deputy Minister of Government Services in Nova Scotia in 1984 and an old friend of then Premier Buchanan. He liked the Camp Hill project so much he took early retirement and put himself in charge. The Buchanan government approved a contract he drafted for himself, $65,000 a year and perks for supervising design, equipping, and building of the new facility. There was a bit of unpleasantness in 1992 when a judge found the contract amounted to a breach of trust by the former deputy minister, but a higher court overturned the conviction and Mr. Power is now retired, unwilling to discuss the problems at Camp Hill. His political bosses are also retired due to a change in government. Architects and engineers are instructed by lawyers not to talk about Camp Hill. After spending $12 million on repairs and salaries for sick workers, hospital administrators are happy to talk, insisting the problems are now history.
I think that we probably have the cleanest buildings that you're going to find anywhere.
On July 1st, they had a picnic that was a kind of victory celebration. Hospital now claims that what was recently the sickest building in Canada is now the healthiest. They're summoning their workers from sick leave, and more than 40 already answered the call. They've accepted the reassurances that their health problems will not return in the rehabilitated building. But Karen Inglis will not be going back to work at Camp Hill or perhaps anywhere else. She has become a virtual prisoner in the unfinished dream home she and her husband started building before she became sick. Walls are unfinished, floors bare, because she has become allergic to the chemicals in most building materials. Perfumed ads in magazines have to be purged before she can read them.
I have friends who say, I'd like to have you over for a cup of tea, but I can't drink their water. I can't come in their house because they just wax their floors. They have carpeting. They have synthetic fibers in their upholstery that I can't sit on. it just curtails your life.
Dr. Roy Fox is another Camp Hill worker who will not be returning. He believes the hospital environment can never be clean enough for him, that he and the others have a condition called multiple chemical sensitivity, and that it is permanent.
I can no longer practice medicine in the way that I did before. I would find that I had difficulty in concentrating when I was trying to use my brain effectively. I would have difficulty in remembering things sometimes, and I'd have to be checking back to make sure that I'd done the right thing.
This is a copy of the report.
But here's where the story gets complex. Most doctors don't believe that sick buildings make people permanently sick. Dr. Kempton Hayes is one of them.
I don't believe in the diagnosis of multiple chemical sensitivity. I don't think that there is a shred of credible scientific evidence to support it.
Hayes has not studied Camp Hill patients, but he's investigated 86 other chemical sensitivity cases and found ordinary medical explanations for all of them.
So I don't think you have to go out and invent this disease to account for the illnesses of the people that we saw. We had dozens of diagnoses of various kinds, some of them physical, some psychiatric. In many of them, there were serious psychological stresses in their lives going back to childhood.
I'm aware that often they say, well, it's no real problem. It's just a bunch of hysterical female. Well, hysteria won't make me lose weight. Hysteria won't make me swell up and get bloated or develop a skin rash.
But hundreds of claims by Camp Hill workers now before the Nova Scotia Workers' Compensation Board are affected by the orthodox view that the problems are mostly psychological. David Stewie is Chief Executive Officer of the board.
We don't have sufficient medical information to say that these people are permanently injured.
By failing to grant the benefit of the doubt to those people, don't you then put yourself on side with those doctors who dismiss the condition, saying that it's all in their heads?
Well, when we've accepted over half of the claims that have been presented to us, I don't think we are not accepting claims. One would say that we've gone too far.
But for those people who claim to be permanently sick, there is a simple response.
What we're saying is that if the medical information before us suggests that you can go back to work, we think the best thing for you to do is go back to work.
How many people were covered at one point and they've been cut off of workers' compensation?
These people belong to a 150-member support group set up by Camp Hill workers to help each other deal with critical problems they believe flow directly from chemical sensitivity. They say the system, hospital, governments, and compensation board want to sweep their problems under a rug.
If the building had collapsed on us, there would have been a massive investigation. Those of us that had been pulled out of the rubble would have been treated. We would have had everything that we needed.
But it just seems that agencies such as the Workers' Compensation Board and the government are not willing to acknowledge that this is a disaster, that people are sick, people are losing their lives, people are losing their families. People are becoming divorced over this.
But I think one of the biggest frustrations, and it's I find it very emotional because just the impact that it's put on my children. I have 3 small children. Sorry. And I feel like I'm in hell, and it's hard to get out of hell and come back again, but my God, something's got to be done to fix us up because I'm losing my children. I just can't talk anymore. I'm sorry. It's just too
Their
hard.
deepest frustration is that nobody seems to know precisely what's wrong with them, and that consequently, they can't even hope to get help. In Dallas, Texas, there is a place where doctors do believe in multiple chemical sensitivity, and that something can be done about it. It's a private clinic. It's the only full-time practice in North America specializing in a new medical specialty called clinical ecology. They treat scores of people whose complaints echo those of the Camp Hill workers, and it was to this clinic that one of the Nova Scotians eventually came looking for help. Dr. Roy Fox, so chemically sensitive that he has to be shielded by glass even from fumes off ordinary documents, has spent a year in the Dallas clinic.
Well, the air is all filtered and the walls are made of porcelain on steel.
At the Dallas clinic, Fox worked in a chemical-free environment and was soon feeling better. And he got to know another Nova Scotian, Dr. Jerry Ross, a strong believer in multiple chemical sensitivity, who has studied the cases of Dr. Fox and 31 other Camp Hill workers.
We did a number of blood analyses on those patients. We did a number of evaluations of their abilities and their disabilities. We looked at the neurocognitive ability that they had for problem solving and for doing mental type tasks. Well, a large proportion of these people were impaired in their ability to do that.
Ross tested Roy Fox in a sealed booth where he exposes patients to small amounts of everyday chemicals and then measures the effect. This way, he concluded that Dr. Fox's system had been so saturated by chemicals, he could no longer tolerate even the slightest exposures.
We can show that, in fact, when a chemically sensitive patient is exposed to a very brief exposure, even 15 seconds, to a substance to which they're sensitive, that their brain metabolism deteriorates very, very badly. It's no wonder that these people can't think, they can't reason, they get confused and have poor memory, and they often have emotional instabilities.
In Halifax, the Nova Scotia government is funding a temporary clinic where Ross, now assisted by Fox, continues to test his theories. The clinic has a waiting list of 400. Jocelyn Brown has waited a long time for this visit. The province will soon decide whether or not the clinic deserves permanent funding. And if it was up to the patients, it would be an easy decision. But the mainstream medical community has a different view. Dr. Kempton Hayes.
Clinical ecologists are excellent at practicing the art of medicine. The difficulty lies in that they have tried to masquerade the art of medicine as science, and that their diagnostic and treatment methods don't stand up to scientific scrutiny.
Unfortunately, we are trained that when we run out of diagnostic categories into which to try to fit a patient's particular problems, we end up saying, aha, it must be a psychiatric problem, okay? It may not be a psychiatric problem at all. It may be that we're just not yet smart enough to understand what's going on with this patient. These people are really ill. And I get frustrated at all the bickering and the contention about the legitimacy of this diagnosis or that diagnosis, when no matter what the hell you call it, these people are sick and they need our help.
Camp Hill workers want help with medical bills, but the Compensation Board refuses to pay for a condition most doctors will not diagnose. Their paychecks will soon cease unless they return to work. Going back to work, especially in a hospital, is an option Karen Inglis won't consider. She needs special vitamins and medication just to cope at home, a monthly expense of hundreds of dollars, a financial burden the Compensation Board says she must bear alone.
This whole situation they probably see as a can of worms. If they open the lid, they're going to have to deal with the worms. They'd rather try and close the lid.
They would be opening up the floodgates to millions and millions of dollars in claims.
Mm-hmm.
People who got sick in the workplace.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But those people deserve treatment. If their workplace is making them sick, they deserve help.
If you think of the potential liabilities involved with this, as far as the builders, the hospitals, the governments, the workers' compensation boards, it scares the hell out of people to begin to say our chemical environment is beginning to make some susceptible people sick.
The Nova Scotia government hopes it's heard the last of sick buildings, at the same time keeping a nervous eye on the next phase of the Camp Hill project, a new infirmary, designed and built by the same people who built what became the sickest hospital in Canada. The builders take the optimistic view that the lessons of Camp Hill will help them avoid past mistakes. Already they've come up with an innovative design feature, windows that open to let fresh air in. For hospital workers like Karen Inglis, past mistakes might not be that easy to correct.
There haven't been any studies done on the long-term effects. Nobody can tell me what I'm going to be like in another 20, 30, or 40 years. And I can't look inside my body to see what damage has been done. And that's scary.
In a moment, Hannah Gartner with a special look ahead at our 19th season.
The Fifth Estate had quite a season last year. I'm allowed to brag. After all, we did win an International Emmy Award and Canada's Gemini Award for Best Information Program. Our stories last year ranged from the travesty of the man Canada wrongly sent into exile as a spy to our exclusive report on convicted child murderer Guy-Paul Morin's bid for a new trial. Now, of course, that spy has won an apology and a payment from the Canadian government. Morin has been granted leave to appeal his conviction, and we have been busy preparing another season of compelling original journalism for you. Here's a sample.
These women all believe they are children. They have been diagnosed with multiple personality disorder, or MPD.
Full-blown multiple personality appear to occur in 1 in 100 people in the general population.
MPD has now been diagnosed in hundreds of Canadians, but today some experts question if it's a disorder that's been overlooked in the past or a phenomenon induced by therapists.
Heard one story of a therapist actually attempting to breastfeed a patient. So it can become that bizarre.
The Battle of Clayoquot Sound. This was the summer of discontent in one of British Columbia's last standing areas of untouched wilderness.
Our problem essentially is the environmental movement really isn't what it seems. It's not saving the earth, it's killing jobs and trashing the economy.
We will continue to make sure that our industry is vibrant.
Trish Wood goes beyond the headlines and the blockades to tell the story of the forest industry's strategy for the war in the woods.
In fact, the strategy that they were working on, and it became pretty evident at that meeting, was total war with the environmentalists.
And he parted the curtain, and with barely a beat, this shot went off, an incredible explosion.
15 years ago, an assassin's bullet killed her father. Now, South African filmmaker Jan Turner is heading home to uncover the secret of his murder. But even in the new South Africa, the legacy of apartheid still conspires to keep Turner from the truth.
Were you, in fact, involved in the killing of Rick Turner?
There's no evidence to prove that I was involved in any way.
Deep in the woods of eastern Canada, a hardy little plant is fighting for its life. It's the wild ginseng, one of Canada's best-kept secrets. Every year, an undercover army of diggers hunt down the poor plant and rip it out of the ground because just a pound of gnarled root is worth up to $500 in Toronto's Chinatown.
Why is there so much secrecy surrounding ginseng plants? You've got the diggers who won't tell you where their little plots are. You've got people like yourself who are saying, no way I'm going to tell anybody where this is.
Wild ginseng, worshipped in the East, hunted in the West. Lyndon McIntyre follows a group of boys in their first full year of professional hockey. He watches the Canadian Greens slam against the boards. The triumphs. The failures.
You feel like you just want to go home, quit hockey. You just never want to play again.
The pressure.
You can't pass up something like this opportunity.
It's just a big decision I just didn't want to make.
The business.
This is a business they're in, and they are the lowly employee.
Okay, good. Keep coming, Ron.
Patty Jones is one of Canada's hardest working and most respected photographers, second to none when it comes to working a photo shoot. But she's not called outstanding in her field for nothing.
That's it. Come to me and go away, Huey. Go away. Real quick, Huey. Good, that's it. Keep going, Huey. Keep going. Good. Let her go. All right. Good. We're all right. That's what we want. This was a good photograph. Mm-hmm. I got goosebumps, so it must have been.
The Fifth Estate will be right back.
Your comments and story ideas mean a lot to us. Please write, phone, or fax. Here's how. You can write to us at Box 500, Terminal A, Toronto, Ontario, M5W1E6. Fax us at area code 416-205-6668, or leave a phone message at 205-2000.
That is our program for this evening, but you can see it again on News World Sunday night at 9 p.m. Right now, stay tuned for Primetime News.
For all of us at the Fifth Estate, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Let's go. Let's make this painless.
Okay. Camera gone. Marker. Interview, take 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you up here in the bright Colorado sun.
It's 1985. Bob Friedland takes his sales pitch to the top of the world. He wants investors for his gold mine, and he'll move a mountain to get them.
It's our ability to move a tremendously large volume of rock at a very low unit cost that will make us the lowest cost gold producer in the United States.
No. I want an intense one this time. And what's in the
same thing I just said?
Yeah.
You want that all over again? How am I going to repeat that?
Robert Friedland doesn't need any advice on selling. He wrote the book on it.
If an idea excites the imagination of enough people, the money materializes and the project happens.